Oh shit, the fucking sphere
Go,
gun.
go.
Is he life switching? What the fuck? How was not a hit? It doesn't. Dude, it's so broken, it's Deviant, bro.
Stop right there what you're doing. Do you think I'm cheating? Do you want to improve your aim? Then go to Steam and install Kovacs Aim Labs. You can play scenarios and improve your aim, flicking, tracking, whatever you want to do. Look at me, I'm leaderboard 1. Oh my god! Go install it. Maybe you'll be able to beat me. The scenario name is called Tile Frenzy Mini. Try your luck. ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another 1 video. Today we're going to be covering damage reduction, how it's working on players, how is the damage reduction applied to other players. We're going to be covering weapon damage reduction. So I want to quickly tell you something what happens in this game when you fight a lower tier gear player. So take a look at this. Right now we're doing 231 damage on this person. This person that is getting shot at has tier 5 gear. Tier 5, no mods equipped, and they have 0 damage reduction. If I changed my helmet and unequipped something, now as you can see, as I unequip the gear and I'm naked, I do way less damage than I did before. I'm doing 35 damage to the person, even though I should be doing more since they're naked, right? Well, this is where the game balances stuff. For example, if you are in tier 5 gear and you're fighting a tier 3 geared player, you will of course do less damage to balance it out. So I'm not going to go further into this, but that's all I wanted to say, is that how your damage will be affected if you wear tier 1, tier 2, 3 and 4 gears. Obviously, if you want to calculate damage reduction values and stuff, you both have to wear tier 5 gears. How do we calculate damage reduction values? The character that we are on right now has a 8.4% weapon damage reduce, and they have a 10% torso damage reduce. We have 0% damage reduction, so that's not counted, but I will put that in later. Now that we have these values, we're going to quickly check the damage that we do on the other account. 210 damage we do with the shotgun. So if we take a look, we do 190 in the legs, and we do 171 in the torso. Let's put in the base damage of 210 and add a new multiplier. The new multiplier is going to be our weapon damage bonus, and that's about it. The other multipliers are going to be damage reductions. So let's put in the 10% over here. We have to take our 8.4% weapon damage reduce and put it over here. Then we have to add a new multiplier. And then we have to take the 10% torso damage reduce exactly here. So of course I have to put minus here. And we have to put minus 10 here as well. So now this is our shotgun base damage. This is reducing our shotgun's damage. And this is also reducing our shotgun's damage. We get a new value of our base damage, reduced damage. And then we put that into the new multiplier. Now this is our reduced damage. As you saw, our character has 10% weapon damage reduced. Now you can imagine our damage being 170 instead of 210 here. And then we just need to apply the weapon damage bonus 10% here. So that's why we have that. And we also have to add a new multiplier again and do minus 10. Because I don't know why it's like that, but every single player takes 10% less damage from every single gun. That's what I figured out. And as I applied these values and calculations, they always match the damage. So that's just a hidden minus 10% everyone has. And now as you can see, this damage we are getting is in the body damage, rounded to 171. And if we do in the legs or in the hands, the damage is rounded to 190 instead of 191. But if we test the damage right now, we do 171 and we do 190. So the calculations completely matched. And if we wanted to calculate crit, which we have 27% crit, all you need to do is just add a new multiplier like that, and that's our crit damage right there, 218. As you can see, matches the calculations perfectly. And if we want to calculate our weak spot damage, it's 15%, so I have to add a new multiplier, obviously remove the crit. As you can see, we have a 4.8% damage reduction over here. So when I shoot on the head, we will do 4.8% less damage. Put in the minus 4.8% here, and we take that new number, put it in here. This is our head damage. And we do not have to include the minus 10% because it's already included here. You have to only include it once. If I shoot right now in the head, we do 208. As you can see, we have 4.8% damage reduction, so I'm going to remove that. Now our player has 0% head damage reduction. So now if I just remove this, paste in the new number, put here, we will do 219 damage to the player. 219, as you can see, exactly. Obviously now if I added more weak spot to this person, which we will do 15% more weak spot damage. Now we have 30% weak spot, so I'm gonna change the 15 to 30, and we will do 248 damage to the head. Let's see, exactly matches the damage. So if you take a look, I have 15% status damage reduce. So we're gonna quickly go into the calculator and just put in minus 15%, and then we're gonna keep the minus 10% as well. The base damage, our base damage of the shotgun is PSI intensity, which is 521. Obviously, I have to do 521, just divided by 2. This is our status damage of shock. And the reason for that is because we go to blueprints. Right click any weapon, click X on I keyword, and scroll down until we find Power Surge. It deals damage based off your 50% PSI intensity. That's why we divided it by 2. So I have to put in 260.5. This is our damage reduced. So if we don't reduce the damage, this is the damage we do. But obviously this is with 15% status damage reduction, and this is with just minus 10% reduction. I have to include that because it's just always there. Minus 10 has to be always there. Just like the dummy has minus 5%, the players have 10%. Let's go and check our status damage. We have 10% status damage, and if you didn't know, status damage affects your power surge damage. You'll do more damage if you have it. So we have to put the 10% here, and that's about it. Oh, last thing, we're using the shotgun. If you go to blueprints and just hover your mouse on the shotgun, you can see it has a power surge damage factor plus 15%, which is a hidden factor as well. You cannot see that in the details of your inventory. Now we have to put the 15% here, and this is our final damage that we have for power surge. If I test this, we do 252. As you see, exact damage. Now, if I unequip the pants, shelter pants, and change to something else, you take a look, we have no more 15%. So we'll have to remove the 50% here and copy the new value into this calculator. And we will do exactly 297 power surge damage if I get shot at. There you go, 297. Matches our calculations perfectly. Come on, come on. There you go, 297. Nice. Now let's say on this character, you have a mod on your Vilfire. For example, this one, let's just equip a Vilfire pistol. For those who don't know, there's a mod that reduces damage on other players, which is if you mark them, you will receive 20% less damage. Let's put this on, and as you saw, our damage decreased. We're doing 286 now. And the reason for that is because I have more status damage reduction, 3.6. So I would have to include the minus 3.6 here. And see, now we do 286, which matches it. We do 297 now because my gun has been put away, so... Okay, there you go, 286. Great. Do note if the gun you're holding has status damage reduction or anything, which is this, and if the gun is put away, you will lose that damage reduction. So you only get... The mod is only active when you're holding the gun. For example, you receive more HP and you receive less damage if you're holding the gun in your hands. Now, let's mark the enemy. Let's do minus 20%. That's a new multiplier that you have to add once you mark an enemy. So look at this. I'm going to mark myself here. We are marked. Now, when we shoot with Power Surge, we deal 229 damage. Which is, if we take this number here, it's rounded to 229. Because as long as the number is higher than 5 here, or it's 0.51, it will get rounded to 229. So once again, let's mark ourselves and 229 damage. So that's how damage reduction works. Now let's say you buffed a sandwich, and what the sandwich does is it gives you plus 20% damage reduction against other players. Note the text saying damage against. It reduces damage from other players by 20%. As we know, the modification on the gun here, it says marked enemies receive 20% less damage. And it says damage against metas. Once again, let's mark ourselves. The damage is 229, right? As soon as I eat the sandwich from Eternal Land, let's eat it. We receive a 20% damage reduce against players, but it's not going to show up here because it's not the same multiplier. Damage reduction is a different multiplier than the sandwich multiplier. So now, if I mark myself and shoot, you can see we're doing 183 damage now. But if we put this minus 40% over here in the same multiplier, it doesn't do the same amount of damage. So we have to separate the multiplier, which is the new multiplier for the sandwich. This is our Hunter's Perk mod, which is 20% less damage against metas, and this is our sandwich buff. Now if we take the value and put it here, you can see that our damage is 183. And the reason why it's higher is because it's a separate multiplier. Obviously, if it wasn't the same multiplier, we would do way less damage. Now we're just gonna mark ourselves, and now if I shot, we will do 183 power surge damage. There you go. Obviously now, if I remove the status damage reduction once again, which I'm gonna demonstrate right here, I'm not holding any gun, as you can see. I'm holding jaws only. And our damage reduction of status is 0%. So I can just remove this. And this is our new damage number. So we will do 190 damage power surge. I'm going to have to change the mod because it has status damage reduction. I want to change that. Let's put this one as long as it's not status damage reduction. Now this is our stats. So let's mark ourselves. Boom. Let's shoot ourselves. 190. So now if I shoot myself, mark ourselves, shoot. And as you can see that the body or limbs doesn't affect the damage reduction. So I can shoot here, 190 damage. I can shoot in the legs. We're still doing 190 damage because torso damage reduction only works against weapon damage. It doesn't work against power surge. But basically, the damage is matching. It's rounding to 190 here, which is great. Now, if I remove the Hunter's perk over here, we will do this amount of damage. Let's paste a new number. I'm just gonna remove this mod here. And let's test it. We do 237 now. Round it to 237. Yep. I'm actually gonna wear my full gear right now. This is my full gear. So our character has 18% weapon damage reduce. That means I have to put in minus 18 here. Our sandwich buff is still active. So I'm gonna quickly just put the numbers in here. Minus 20% for the sandwich, minus 18 for the weapon damage reduce, and minus 10 for the torso. Copy the new number, paste it over here. And we have to apply, this is our torso damage, and this is our limbs damage. 136, and torso is 123. If we test in game, we do 123 in the torso, and we do 136 in the feet, or in the limbs, but not in the torso. Obviously, if we check crit damage, we have 27. Obviously, I can put in 27 crit damage, and we will do 156 crit. Let's quickly test that. There you go, 156 in the body, and 173 in the limbs, or in the legs. Obviously, if I remove this, 173. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is how weapon damage reduce is calculated. Now, I want to quickly show you how damage reduction works. So, right now, the server I'm playing, there's only two values that give us damage reduction, which is the sky operation. When you jump, you gain damage reduction plus 10%. Notice how it says damage reduction, and this right here says hitting weak spots or reloading grants a shield equal to max of your 30% HP. While the shield is active, you will gain a weapon damage reduction plus 15%. So if I put this on, and if I shot a gun and reloaded, you can see that the weapon damage reduce is increased by 15% over here. That means our shield is active and we have it available. Now, it stays there until the shield is broken. It's never going to disappear, basically. But if I take off the cradle right now, then we lose that 15%, as you can see. And if we put it back on and go on, you see it's 15.6. I have to shoot, reload a bullet, and as soon as the gun reloads, it goes back to 30. There you go. Right now, there's the sky operation. So if I put the sky operation, we will get a 10% damage reduction as soon as I'm in mid-air, airborne. So boom, jump and quickly open inventory. You can see that damage reduction is 10%. Now, since my character landed, let's refresh. We are on 0%. And if I keep refreshing, we're on 0%. So I have to jump, and while we are mid-air, 10% damage reduction. You have to time it very fast though. So these two Cradle perks is what gives you damage reduce. These two right here. There's nothing else that gives you damage reduce. Unless you're playing in a different server, you will have a rolling reduced damage, and you will have a damage against other players reduced by 10% or 20%. But however, in this server I'm playing, it's not available. So Cradle perks, there's only 2 damage reductions per server. Make sure to read all the Cradle perks and see which one gives damage reduction, and of course use that for PvP. So let's go through something very important over here. Damage reduction is a separate multiplier than weapon damage reduce. Torso damage reduce is also a separate multiplier. Head damage reduce is also a separate multiplier. And lastly, player damage reduce is another separate multiplier. You can see that Hunter's perk, it goes down all the way to 20 here, and then Sandwich goes all the way down to 33.6. Again, Sandwich 33.6 is by level 5 Chephosaurus. If you have 0 buffs, then it will be 20% damage reduced instead of 33.6, but 33.6 is the max. Now I'm going to show you, you can get 104 damage reduced total, and basically if you get rid of the Doombringer, you will get 84, and if you get rid of Stormviewer, you will get 60% damage reduction total. The Cradle perk included, and obviously if you get rid of that, that's just the resist advantage mod. But if I remove the resist advantage, you will have only 54%, and that's still quite a decent amount of damage reduce. If you get rid of the Doombringer stacks, that's 34%, and if you don't use Stormviewer, then it's just going to be 10%. You always want to have the Cradle perk for PvP. It's 10% damage reduction is so important, and it's so much damage reduction. So basically, if you have fully stacked Doombringer, you have fully stacked resist advantage, you have fully stacked Stormviewer, and this thing, Cradle, you will basically deny your first shot, you know? Because what resist advantage does is first shot, if you have 5 stacks, you will have 50% damage reduction. If you get shot once, you will drain that 1 stack and it becomes 40%. So basically, as long as it's 50%, the first shot you get shot at, it will deny every damage, you will get 0 damage. But however, if you get shot again, you will then have 94% damage reduction, which means you will get like 2k damage or 1k damage. Once you get shot again, it will go down to this, it will go down to this, it will go down to this, until, you know, you reach 0, and then your damage, you're gonna receive more and more damage until it gets to 0 stacks. But basically, the point is here that if you use resist advantage, you will deny all the damage. Now, obviously, if we take the damage reduction, 104 minus, then we will not get any damage. However, if we get 94 damage reduction, we will receive 12 damage in the hands, and we will receive 11 in the body. So now I'm gonna sum up every single damage and see where we get this to. So if we take a look now, we have minus 57 comes from player damage reduce. So right now we have 53.6 player damage reduce. So let's put in minus 53.6. Then we have 57 weapon damage reduce. So let's put in minus 57. And then we have minus 54. Obviously, the damage is not going to be 0 because these are multipliers. They are not additive. If they were additive, then, I mean, sheesh, you would have probably minus 150 damage reduce, which is obviously, if we do that, take a look at this. I'm going to sum up everything. We will do this amount of damage. And yeah, it makes no sense, obviously. That's not how damage works. We will have a minus 122 damage. It's obviously, this is how it works. It's multiplicative values, and that's how the damage reducing is. You cannot sum them up in one. Obviously, if you don't use resist advantage, you can use this mod that is the healing fortification right here. So that could work as well. And, you know, whenever you like heal up, you're just going to be tanky for the other enemy. And if we actually tested the damage, let's say instead of damage reduction 54 here, replacing resist advantage, we put 94 because that's our damage. And basically when you shoot the enemy, you will do 2% damage. Fully buffed with Storm Viewer, with basically maxed weapon damage reduce mods here, with Storm Viewer 24, with Cradle 10, with the heal of 40%, with the Doombringer stacks, with the Sandwich stack, with the Hunter's perk stack, all of that combined. All of that, you will do 2 damage to the enemy. Now let me copy this and put in a minus 10%. This would be our damage to the hands, and this would be our damage to the body here. So that's kind of crazy. Let's say our AWS did 4,000 basic damage, and then our weak spot damage was like 300%, right? And then our weapon damage bonus was like 100. So if we're gonna do 345 damage to the body, to the player, if I removed all the damage reduction right here, this would be the damage to the player, fully unbuffed, no damage reduction completely. 28,800 damage with no damage reduction, and with damage reduction, it would be this damage in the head. Isn't that crazy? But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed this video. As always, guys, join my Discord if you have any questions, or leave a comment down below. I'll try my best to answer you. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care and peace out.